Hello and welcome to the MBKM channel. Tonight we're going to talk about airbrushing. Now I'm going to take you from the absolute basics. I was an Army reservist for years, so what I have done is drawn on some experience from my younger years. I did 5 years with the British Army Reserve, and I always use this with airbrushes. I've used that from the start, and it does help me along. If you're new to this, this will also help you along because you'll buy your airbrush off of Amazon, eBay, or a local model shop. You'll buy an expensive compressor, you'll get it home and you'll be dying to do it, and it'll clog with paint. And then it'll be put to one side in your garage or in your workshop, and you've spent a whole lot of money for something that's not really working that well or not working at all. Now, my suggestion is this. When I spent 5 years with the Army Reserve back in the 80s in the Cold War, the Army, all armies do this. When you first join, okay, they will introduce you to a rifle, all right, okay, and that rifle, they will teach you how to strip it and reassemble it. You will not be allowed to go on the range to fire that rifle until you have passed a test in the safety strip and assembly of it, which years ago used to be called skillet arms. Then it changed to weapons training. All right. So the thing to do, which is what I did because I've never airbrushed before. I'm experienced now, but I wasn't. Is when you get your airbrush, all right, it will arrive if you bought it online in a little plastic box with a clear lid, and inside will be instructions of all the working parts, all right, and how to strip it and reassemble it. So when you get it, read the instructions carefully. Now, what we used to do army-wise, if we stripped a rifle, when the working parts came out, which is the breech block, spring, fire, all of that, what we used to do was you had to take your berry off. A berry, as many of you know, is a hat you wear on your head, yeah? So we had to take our berry off. You put your berry on the floor, and into your berry you put the working parts of the rifle. Okay, so the thing to do is when you strip your airbrush, go and get something you can put all the working parts in, all right? So let's take it from the beginning again. Your airbrush arrives. Take the instructions out. Read them cover to cover. Then don't do anything that day. Wait till the next day, sleep on it, and then disassemble your airbrush whilst keeping the parts in something safe. You won't have a berry, but you can have a dish or a plate or a box or something like that, and then reassemble it. All right? Okay? So do that time after time after time until you know your airbrush. All right, airbrushes work on very much like a carburetor in a car. All right, I mean, let's pick up the more basic one. What it does, the air goes in here, which is compressed air, and it turns air and paint into a vapor. All right, okay, and that vapor is what you spray with. All right, it's as simple as that. But these things are finely tuned. All right, they are very finely tuned, and they don't like anything excess. I mean, if you look, I've cleaned mine out, it's spotless. I've cleaned that with warm water. All right, so they don't like any grit or dirt. So when you have finished with it, I mean, you can swill it through, but I always wait a little bit, let it go dry, and then with an old needle I've got from an airbrush, I have a good scrape around in the nozzle. All right, that's where it usually blocks in the nozzle. It goes brick hard, and sometimes you just need to push it out with a spare needle. All right. Okay, so like I said, I mean, strip and assemble your airbrush. Keep the parts separate, all right? Okay, put them in something. And if you've been in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, or wherever, treat your airbrush like you would have treated a rifle when you were there, all right? You treat a rifle with respect. Anybody hands you a rifle, you do what are called NSPs, normal safety precautions, okay? The first thing you do is check the safety catch. So in all of it, for me, I treat an airbrush like I do a rifle. I mean, I did wedding photography for years, and I used to treat all my camera and equipment and the way I shot the photographs in a very military-like manner, which produced good photographs. And my airbrush, I treat the same. I mean, many of you who've been in that will remember that you'll be cleaning weapons, and you go up to usually a senior NCO, and they will check your firing pin, and it is never good enough. You are sent back every time. They check the bore down a barrel, they check the firing pin, and you are sent back and back and back, and it's never good enough. And then in the end, dinner time comes and they say, right, hand them in then. And I've never cleaned a rifle good enough. It's always run up to the time to go and have something to eat, and they just tell you to hand them in anyway, all right? So that's my way that I approach airbrushing. I mean, obviously you strip this down at your own risk. Okay, please don't come back to me and say I've stripped it down, I can't put it back together. You need to read the instructions. But if you do successfully strip your airbrush and you put it back together, and you could literally do it blindfolded, yeah, this will give you a very, very good knowledge of what's happening with it. Okay, and the thing to do it first is, right, okay, once you've done the stripping and reassembling, try it with water. Don't put any paint in, first of all. So you put water in it, and then you can see how it sprays, what sort of pressures you need, this, that, and the other, all right? So try it with water. And then, once you've got water spraying from it, okay, should it not spray very well, press the, what do you call it, this lever down here, which allows the air in, okay, put your thumb over it, press it down, and any grit that is caught in here or tiny little particles will get fired back into the bowl, all right, and then it should start spraying. I mean, it's what I do. And then it starts, all right? But try, like I said, if you've never done it before, try a little bit of paint, bit by bit by bit by bit, okay? The paint should be like milk consistency, all right? It shouldn't be too thick or too thin. But if you're brand new to it, just build up from water, and then you can see what type of air pressures you need, etc. When you come to clean it, run it through with water, all right? And then once it dries, you can check the nozzle, which is inside, with use a spare needle to see if there's anything caught in the nozzle, all right? I mean, you can buy an airbrush cleaner, but it's going to cost you. I mean, I use warm water and, like a sponge to clean it out with, all right? Okay, and it looks lovely and clean, doesn't it? All right, okay. I do have a sonic cleaner here, but that's a separate video. And I do use the drip test, all right, okay, occasionally to get the right air pressure, but that's a separate video, because what we're talking about here is literally getting it out the box, all right, and getting the feel of your airbrush. And like I said, for anyone who's been in the army or all the other services, Treat this like you would have treated your rifle, all right? Absolute respect. It's the same deal. You've got working parts there. They've got to be cleaned. They've got to be kept together. You don't want to lose anything, otherwise it won't work. I mean, in the army, you lose a magazine, you get billed. All right? You lose part of a rifle, they'll bill you. Okay, and you go up in front of the old man for that. So I'm not going to say that's all there is to it, because it's a learning curve. And when you have successfully stripped it, start with water and then work your way up. And then after some time, when you feel confident, that's the time to start spraying and painting your models. All right, so good luck. All right, leave in the comments below how you get along. It'd be great to hear. And until next time.